The last thing we're going to do is to look at the brain. So to get to the brain, you remove the fur off the skull. So we'll do that. Again, we can use this tool here, the probe. Okay, so we've got the skull exposed now. And so probably the simplest thing is to sort of just make a hole with the scissors. So make sure you don't poke yourself. Keep the scissors not very deep. You don't want to cut in. Okay, the skull is relatively thin, so it's actually not that hard to cut into. Okay, so I make a cut that way. And then I'll go to cut to the side. So we can kind of follow the line here of the skull down on the side. At some point we should be able to lift the flap of the skull up, exposing the brain. So I can see the brain already in there. Okay, so we'll do the same thing on the other side. Cut across and down on the side. Then use the probe underneath to lift up. Okay, so we're exposed the brain now. So that's the rat brain. And you can see there's different parts. So you can see the lobes of the cerebrum. Okay. And then we have the cerebellum back here. Cerebellum's involved in motor activity. So what we can do, we want to really get a little bit more out. So we're going to go back. We try and get the brainstem out. So I'm going to turn everything around. Flip it around, put the scissors in very carefully with the points. Again, the tips of the scissors should be pointed up just a little bit or sideways, so we don't cut into the structures we want to get out. Now it's pretty tough in the back here. I could have done a better job maybe of removing some of these neck muscles to begin with. If I was being more patient, I'd remove all the neck muscles first. That's probably the better way to go. It's a lot of neck muscles. Okay, let me keep going here. Going on the back here. Alright. So now I can open this up a bit, and we should be able to see the brainstem right under there. Alright. So I'm doing this a little bit rapidly just to get in here. Okay, but basically we can see most of the brain now. We can see the two cerebral hemispheres, the cerebellum, and a little bit of brainstem back there. It's a little hard to get to the brainstem, but it is in there. I've cut into the brainstem, unfortunately, but it is. This is the brainstem right here, which I've cut into, unfortunately. But that's it. That's the rat brain. If we go further up, let me see if I can get further up. So rats have a really good sense of smell. So at the very tip of the lobes, and they're relatively large in a rat. Okay, I'll kind of cut through the olfactory lobes a bit, unfortunately. But they're right there. You can sort of see them here. All right. these anterior structures that have been cut into. All right, so we got the brain out. So if we look at the brain, we have the very tip here. We have then underneath ventral, we have the olfactory lobes, two cerebral hemispheres, cerebellum is involved in motor movements and so forth, fine motor movements, and then we have a bit of and that would of course lead into the spinal cord.